Welcome to another episode of Behind the Business presented by Gore Mutual. I'm your host, McLean, President and CEO of the Greater Kitchener-Waterloo Chamber of Commerce. This podcast is recorded on the traditional territory of the Neutral, Anishinaabe, and Haudenosaunee peoples. Each week I sit down for candid conversations where we go beyond the boardroom and behind the business to uncover the real stories of Waterloo Region's business community. Today on the Behind the Business podcast, we're sitting down with Gary and Kim Evans, a husband and wife team who've built far more than an award-winning wedding photography brand. They have been ranked among the top photographers in the world and have launched multiple businesses. Gary and Kim are redefining what's possible in the creative economy. Gary made the leap from Wales to Canada, rebuilding his business from the ground up in Waterloo Region. Meanwhile, Kim brought the systems, strategy, and marketing mindset that helped turn creative passion into a scalable enterprise. In this conversation, we go behind the lens, talking about risk, reinvention, leadership as a couple, and how creatives can move beyond hustle into sustainable growth. This is a story about art, business, and building a life you want. Let's go behind the business with Gary and Kim Evans. Well, Gary and Kim, thank you so much for spending some time with us today.
You're welcome.
Time is the most valuable commodity that entrepreneurs have, so thank you for spending some more with us this week.
You're more than welcome.
Yeah. Now, listen, Kim, the story between how the two of you starts at a wedding show. Your business starts at a wedding show, which kind of sounds a little poetic, right? Mm-hmm. You met at a wedding show. Tell us how you met, and then how you started to build the business together.
Of course. So we happened to meet at a wedding show, which was at Bingaman. So if anyone's from this region, they know that there's been a wedding show there for what feels like forever. Mm-hmm. And Gary just happened to be over visiting with another photographer that he knew, and I knew them, and we just kind of fortuitously, I guess, or fate kind of crossed paths. And then
when you say he would just happen to be here, he's coming from the UK.
Exactly.
Yeah, there's a story behind that. It was very serendipitous, fortuitous, however you want to describe it, because the guy that was over here, he had Canadian citizenship, but I knew him from being a photographer in the UK, and we'd shot a number of weddings together. He moved over here. We stayed in touch. He invited me to come over and help him out at this wedding show, mm-hmm. which was in January. And if anyone knows, January in Canada is definitely not vacation weather. So my first reaction was to say no. And then I must have put in my phone like a flight scanner app for flights from London Heathrow to Toronto. And then right in between Christmas and New Year, I got this notification. And the deal was too good to miss. It was something like 40% off a flight if you booked there and then. So I literally just booked it there and then, not knowing that decision would end up changing the path I was on and the path of my life, because I came over and I said at that wedding show I met Kim and.
Now you're at the wedding show because you were doing design and floral arrangements. So talk about that and then how it's transitioned.
I was a decorator and floral designer, and I had my own booth at the wedding show, and he was there, and like I said, we crossed paths, and then we decided that we wanted to hang out. It was in the era of BlackBerry Messenger, so we messaged back and forth, and then he came back, and then I went there. I'm pretty sure my parents thought I might be murdered or something like that, of just going across to see a boy that they didn't know. And then I think over the first year together, we flew, 50,000 kilometers back and forth. Wow. And being entrepreneurs was lucky because we could work around our schedules and that. And then he moved in June 2013 over with us. I had a son, so that made the decision pretty easy of where we wanted to move to. And then we kind of started building things up. He had sold his company there, so him coming over was really he was obviously going to continue as a photographer. We had to wait for all the PR card and everything like that, which takes a while.
2 years.
Yeah.
2 years.
2 years it took.
2
yeah.
years it took for like a work permit to come through, which was great. And then we kind of got to work, started building.
So you transitioned. You're still doing your design, and then you're getting into you're a photographer, so you're marrying together all the sides of
Exactly.
Initially, we ran our when I was like 2015 when I started working over here. We ran our businesses kind of like separately. So I would do the photography, wedding photography, and then Kim would still do the wedding decorating and florals for weddings. And we did that for a number of years, but then
we would collab on there was a lot of jobs that we were booked on together, but the difference was the decorating and floral design just had to be finished before the photography started. So we were working the same job, but not really getting to spend time together. And we're just really a lot better when we're together, and we just really enjoy it and feel lucky that we get to.
So you brought the two together, and you say you're sort of. Did you wrap up your other business, or did you just fold it into and start something new?
Yeah, so we sold it off. So we sold off that company, and then I joined the photography company to sort of do like the creative direction and the marketing, and we really took a minute to evaluate where our time was best spent and how we were getting the most for our time, so the most money and the most out of it and the most time together, and kind of me moving into and being able to push our photography brand just made a lot of sense all around.
Yeah, I think if you a lot of photographers, they work for themselves, so they're doing the creative side, they're shooting the weddings, the editing, and all of that stuff. But then also they're supposed to be really good at the marketing and the running of the business side of things. We're fortuitous because Kim is a master at the business side of things and the marketing and the advertising, the creative direction that we want the business to go. She's great at managing that part. That frees up the kind of like the front end for me to do the photography and the editing. So between us, our two skills really marry together, and it's nice to be able to separate that out and both concentrate on what you're good at.
And like an average wedding might take 20 hours of editing time. So that's just literally Gary sat at a computer and a screen. So if you're really deep into that, and that's where a lot of photographers kind of can stumble, is that's the only thing you're paying attention to at that point.
Not paying attention to the business.
The business is still running, but it's kind of paused.
So in some ways, you've got a unique story, but the familiarity that what I hear is, like most entrepreneurs, is you're not good at everything. So the creative side, and then there's the admin, the running of the business part. But this actually, when you took that leap and you moved here, that was leaving Wales, selling your business, rebuilding a business from the ground up here together, over time, I should say, as you point out. But from a practical business perspective or standpoint, what were the hardest adjustments that you faced when you moved to a new market? Not only a new market, but a new country. You got a relatively new relationship. You're starting a new business or creating a new business of sort. But you didn't really have a network, right? Other than the two of you. How did you manage or navigate that?
Yeah, I think the trickiest part there was exactly what you just said. There was no network. And so over the 2 years while I was waiting for my PR card to come through.
That's permanent residency.
That legally allows me to work. I was lucky enough that Kim, through her wedding and decorating business, knew a lot of the right people at these venues. So I would kind of tag along as
the hanger-on,
as the new one,
the helper.
And then I turn up, and because I had a different accent, you kind of stand out to all the other kind of photographers that are turning up. And so what we did is, through that 2-year period, we took that opportunity to start networking, start building relationships in the venues. We built the website, so we had everything ready to go. So then as soon as the permanent residency came through, we could flick the switch and we could get out there and actually start working and start shooting weddings. So I think the difficulty was no network, but through Kim's connections, it allowed me to develop a network very quickly. And as we say, we did all the groundwork, so then we could get going.
And also, like, in retrospect, kind of looking back, as frustrating as not being able to work was initially, it really gave us a lot of freedom of time to really get all the ducks in the row that a lot of entrepreneurs don't get. You know, you couldn't get out and really start working, so it kind of forced you to put the back end together as detailed and kind of efficient as you could,
that's where
right?
you come up with an idea and you want to get started with your business, and you haven't, don't necessarily do all the legwork at the front end. So I want to stick here for a second. You've chosen to come here. Yep. So obviously you came for a girl, smart guy, comes, the better half. But you've chosen Waterloo Region to live and have a family, but also grow your business. But you were still, and still are to some extent, working with clients around the world. What was it about this region? Was it just the beautiful girl, or was it something about this region that you said, I can build my business and still have, the other parts that you've grown, which obviously the UK and elsewhere around the world?
Initially, it was the girl. I didn't know much about this area. I knew of Toronto from living in the UK, but not the KW area. But then, once you come here, you realize that it's. What I found was most impressive initially was how friendly everybody is here. It's like its own kind of like little small town community kind of attitude to everyone, but it has a lot of potential. There's some beautiful wedding venues in and around this area. There's plenty of people getting married in and around this area, so you're not wanting for clients essentially. And I think the schools are great. Where we live, we were lucky enough for our kids to go to some great schools, and.
Well, I mean, it's not just moving here, but we still live here. So, we've
not had any reason to move.
To keep living here because we love it. And I think there's such a great, food scene, and there's, we live kind of out in the country in Waterloo Region, and we just love it so much. It's just we have everything, but it's not crowded and it's not hard to get around.
I think the COVID period taught just about everyone that you have to be somewhere, but you can do business anywhere, and I think there's that closeness too. Yeah. So you pick here. You talk about serial creators who and the importance of analyzing, planning, and then moving decisively. I think that's the words that you use. How do you evaluate, or maybe in your case, how did you evaluate saying, okay, we've got a new idea, let's do the planning, and then double down on a business versus letting something go and saying it's time to do something else, and all while trying to create. You come from a creative background, but you also had the business part. You're trying to match all those things, the business, the opportunities, what to do, what not to do. How do you put all those things together?
I think we always look at that, we are enjoying what we do and we love our life, but it gives us the power to do all the things that we love. And we love spending time with our family. And that's really where our priorities are is still getting to do what we really enjoy about our businesses, but also that we're in a position where we can carve out a good amount of family time and be able to give that to our kids. How we evaluate a new kind of business strategy is I'm a spreadsheet girl, and we just have a spreadsheet, and we put it through its paces to make sure that
positives, negatives,
exactly. It has to be able to make more than something we're already doing that is making whatever it is that's allowing us to have whatever lifestyle we have. And so it's not necessarily. It has to meet all of these criteria to be able to move forward with it. And there's plenty of ideas. And if you're a serial entrepreneur, you come up with an unending amount of really great ideas that you should drop everything
Most of
and
which
do.
end up in the scrap heap.
Honestly,
Exactly.
Yeah, and it's very scary,
Yeah.
right? When I'm sat there, and then Kim turns her head and looks at me, and she says,
I've got an idea.
been thinking.
Yeah,
and
I
I'm
know.
like, oh, what now? But the thing is once she's got to that stage, she's already done
The screening process.
80% of the
Exactly.
work on looking at the numbers and, this idea that I'm thinking. And then normally it's like she'll run it by me and I'll initially be, no, I don't think that's a good idea. And then it takes me a few days to mull it over and then I'll come back and I'll go, that's actually not a bad idea. Can we explore that a bit more? And she's like, I know we're going to do it. Like, it's just jump on board straight away.
Well, and as an entrepreneur, you're really being able to say no to something is probably one of the harder things, because you live your life, especially when you've started something from scratch, you're hustling so hard and you work so hard to get the yes, and then to be able to then
It's hard to say no.
It seems counterintuitive to say no to a job that you work so hard to attract. And I've found that being able to say no or close a door or close a chapter or something like that has been really great for us when we decided that, the decorating and floral design, where we were in our lives and where we wanted to go, it wasn't kind of serving us anymore. It wasn't that it wasn't successful. It was really successful. And, we were doing 10 weddings a weekend, easy.
But it didn't sync up
didn't
to the
fit.
photography as a point in time.
Yeah, and it
all of
didn't-
your stuff in terms of
Yeah.
wedding design and floral is all the lead up.
And it didn't fit with like our life and kind of our future goals that we had, and spending more time together and being able to travel and being able to work side by side, which was really fun for us.
Yeah, and at the time, if we look back to sort of 2015 when this was going on, we just had our little boy, and then Kim's weekends were so busy with doing the wedding and decorating and florals for up to 10 or more weddings over a weekend. And we had this big commercial unit that she would go to and basically be there on her own, like all day, come home from like the Wednesday right the way through to Thursday, Friday, setting up on Saturdays, taking down on Sundays. It was very lonely. And so we did that for a few years, like a number of years, that kind of like carried on before it just got to the point of
it's not serving you.
The
I think we
synergy's not there.
outgrew
Yeah,
it,
we're not spending the time we want together. So how could we do that?
And that was hard because you'd worked, I'd had that company for 10 years almost. And it was sort of like that you built up from nothing, and you feel like you're kind of abandoning a child or something like that. But at the same time, it's such a good lesson for entrepreneurs, is that like you can move on.
Yeah,
and it doesn't mean that you weren't successful with something. It means that you made a choice in your life and your career to take on a new challenge, and
it served the purpose for the time that it was there, and then your circumstances change. We decided to move on from that and then amalgamate our skill set together and then drive forward like as kind of like almost like a one person, but it allowed us to divide and conquer.
So, and I want you to talk about you've been ranked among the best photographers globally. So I just talk a little bit about that, but I want to try to draw this the theme from that of, for any business, how do you value your own, especially in service? Like, yes, there's photography, the picture at the end or the photo at the end, but you also have to value your time. And so, you're globally recognized, you're starting this new business. How do you factor in those types of things that says, here's what my value is, right? Pricing, the positioning in the market. Like, how do you kind of talk about the recognition, but also how it translated into the business?
Yeah, I think the recognition is great within the industry that you're in.
And that's, it is the wedding photography industry, and that's where the award came from.
Exactly, because other wedding photographers see your work and they're like, oh my God, that's lovely. So you get the recognition from within your industry. Cheers. But then other businesses that service the photography industry, you know, the camera manufacturers, the guys that make the flash or the strobes and the lighting, it helps you with your credibility to them as well. And having those awards has allowed us to develop relationships with, you know, other businesses that support the photography industry, which is wonderful. We're ambassadors for a number of brands now, and we get sponsorship from some of those brands as well, and camera manufacturers. So those awards are great within the industry.
But to clients,
it doesn't matter.
It really doesn't
Literally,
matter.
all they're looking for is at the
The
end
award
of the day.
comes from them of whether they think you did a good job for them.
For them, yes,
Yeah.
exactly. So, you know, you can have all the recognition within your industry, you can win all of these awards, but at the end of the day, the client just wants to know, can you do a good job for me, and will my photos be beautiful at the end of the day?
and it's such a personal relationship with having a photographer. They're really just they're seeing all the parts of you, and especially on a wedding day, it's, you know, you're potentially spending more time with your photographer than you are your spouse. So,
Or your guests.
Yeah.
you know, or your guests.
Yeah.
It's really
Yeah.
like you really got to like
Yeah.
them. So for our couples, the personal relationship is biggest.
Yes.
So I'm interested. I mean, I don't think every relationship would survive the working together hand in glove, which is how you work. How do you navigate that balance between the personal life? You got kids, family, home life, all those sorts of things, the creative vision, and the operational decision making. Because those things must just weave in and out.
They're always there.
I wouldn't say seamlessly, but they must intersect a lot. How do you kind of navigate that?
So for us, you know, as far as how we work, we have very specific tasks and we call it lanes that we operate in. We each know kind of what we're responsible for, and we generally don't step on each other's toes. Gary does sometimes, but you know, he'll get moved back into his lane if
I've
he steps
weaved
too
into
far.
Kim's lane a couple of times.
Slap back.
And I literally got slam dunked back into my lane.
That's good.
You know, with a curt telling off.
I think we're both we both come from sort of salesy backgrounds, and we both really like to win. So, you know, we each have to have projects and parts of a job that we can really champion and win at individually, and that kind of keeps that really fresh, that we're not competing as one and you're still kind of not feeling like really seen. And then for our personal life, I mean, there's nothing we like more than having like a glass of wine and a margarita or something and chatting about what we're going to do in business and stuff like that. But it's generally like what we're hoping to do like with our lives and how our businesses are kind of woven within that. And we just have gotten really good about letting the other person know when you're full for the day, you know, and when you're off the clock, and respecting each other. And
Kim and I can work on different timelines. Like Kim's like a morning person. She can get up and hit the ground running. I am not.
I am not either.
But I can work into the night, into like midnight and beyond. And a lot of times I spark ideas or I come up with things. It's like 9, 10 o'clock at night, and I start talking to Kim about things, and she just says, I'm done.
Yeah.
Speak to me tomorrow. Speak to me in the morning. Write it down. Talk to me in the morning. And that's good because we know how each other work.
And we, you know, we can disagree in kind of any capacity in our lives, like the same way as any couple would. But we don't carry it into the opposite thing. We can have a disagreement about, you know, what an ad should look like or something like that, you know, and or something like with our business. But that doesn't carry on to dinner.
Then
you
we'll
know,
cook dinner,
it's
we'll have
kind
a
of
glass
like
of wine, and we're fine.
we can move past that.
I tell you, but it's interesting. I mean, especially when you're working like that. Like I'm like you. I am not a morning person. So when someone says, "Oh, would you like to go for breakfast and meet?" I'm like, "No." But how would you like to come over at 10:30 at night? Because that's when I'm starting to get revved up.
Totally,
Like,
totally.
Well, no, I'm asleep. It's like exactly. It's 6:30 in the morning. That's when I was. But it is, you know, managing the two pieces when you've got differences. The Behind the Business podcast is made possible through the support of our title sponsor, Gore Mutual. Proudly Canadian, Gore Mutual has stayed true to one purpose for more than 185 years, insurance that does good. It's the reason they exist. They believe that when we focus on being good, doing good, and spreading good, we all thrive together. We're grateful for their continued commitment to our local communities and the positive impact they make every day. For more information, visit goremutual.ca. Now, one of the things that I found interesting, and this is kind of, I don't think it's unique. I think it's kind of unique to this area, is businesses kind of giving back and saying, prepared to take that phone call, give someone a half hour. And I think both of you kind of get into the coaching and mentorship, and I think you're doing some teaching or putting some educational part for those, especially in creative, because for creative people, I think it's probably many say they love the creative side, they hate the business side, but you got to do both. So maybe talk a little bit about how creatives can build sustainable businesses and some of the gaps that are there, and how you're the two of you are trying to fill that that need that is in the creative services.
I mean the education side and passing knowledge on has become more important to Kim and I over the last few years. We were lucky enough to speak at a photography conference in the US a number of years ago, and just seeing some of the light bulbs come on in people's heads on, from a business side of things, just something that they could take that's like, oh my God, I can use that straight away in my business. Or from a skill set point of view, if they've been really struggling with a certain aspect of photography, whether it's using a flash or lighting, and we demonstrate that, and it just goes, oh my God, it's that easy. We found that to be hugely rewarding, and so from that, we've spoken at other conferences as well, but we are building an education platform to help photographers or creatives from looking at what their gap is, whether it's from a creative point of view or using a camera point of view. Most of them are really good at that. It's more they're not great at the business side of things. And I always tell photographers when we meet them is you can be an average photographer, but be great at the business side or business and marketing side, and you will make way more money than an expert photographer who is terrible at the business side of things. And so between Kim and I think we have the skill set to help and mentor and point people in the right direction, wherever their need is.
So do you, you said you spoke at conferences, but are you putting this online, or how do you kind of get that out into the ether?
Yep, we have some courses online. We also, we do some speaking gigs especially working with brands that we work with. And then we also host international photography retreats, which are like 5 days of intense shooting and lots of questions and just really time to pick people's brains and that kind of thing. And we bring along other educators that we love who have different points of view to share, so that our attendees can really get a good sampling of kind of different styles. If something we do doesn't necessarily resonate, we have others there that they can, I'm struggling with this, have you ever had that experience? And there's usually someone at the table that has been through it, which is when you're a photographer or a solopreneur or everything like that, there's this impression that you always have to reinvent the wheel at every stage, and it's exhausting and it's lonely and it's
for those
really
of us
struggling.
that aren't creative, we steal the best ideas that someone else has done and try and put it to use.
So that's the thing is somebody has the wheel, and you
Yeah.
just have to find them. And generally, if you ask them, there's really no sense. And this is how we operate: is there's no sense to gatekeep, because it doesn't hurt me that you're more successful. I would like everyone to have a great, thriving business. That would be amazing, because they would have, these opportunities, and they could take their kids to Disney, and they could have the freedom of choice.
I think for many businesses that you fit into maybe two categories. One is the zero sum, which is if I'm not, or if you're a success, or you're taking away from me, and then there's the others who do which I think is more of a Waterloo Region thing. A rising tide floats all boats.
Totally.
And say if everyone's more successful, you kind of get a reputation for technology or advanced manufacturing or for whatever the service
absolutely that. We are not gatekeepy at all.
Yeah.
We want to help people have the lifestyle that we have. Our lifestyle has given us a lot of flexibility and a lot of choices.
Well, and we really feel grateful, for what we have and the chances that we get. And if we were operating in that kind of scarcity mindset of, you're just scared and you're worried about your competitors all the time, it's really hard to drive it forward.
And there are educators out there that want photographers to remain in that scarcity mindset, because then they'll continue to use them as mentors for years and years and years. And our philosophy would be, if we were working with a photographer, we would want them to outgrow us as soon as they could, and then they'd need to go and find another mentor to take them
for the
to
next stage
or
of
become a mentor themselves and
the
help
next
set the next pay it
exactly.
forward.
So we kind of feel it's our obligation to pass down the knowledge that we have to the new generations coming through, because we're not going to do this forever, but the photography industry is something that's dear to our hearts, or the creative industry, and we want it to continue to grow like the rising tide. We want it to grow and build and build and build, not just work in that scarcity mindset.
All right, time is hurtling past. We could talk all afternoon, but let's before we get to come more to the leadership styles part of the conversation. Just as we wrap up on your story, there's no, it's obvious, and before we started, not everything that's captured on tape, lots of ideas, and there's momentum in the things you're involved in. But as you look ahead from both your perspectives, and you think about the next chapter, or what's coming next for you and your business, personally and professionally, what does that look like? I'll start with you.
Well, we've just done a little rebrand for our photography. So we're now the Evans Collective, which feels really nice that it's kind of us as a whole, and kind of we can talk about everything that we provide to our clients, not just Gary, which is, we love him, but we're so much more than that.
Yeah.
We've brought some associates on, so if we're booked or we're maybe out of the range of a couple to work with, we do have other options, and a content creator. So if, there's just kind of, we wanted to be able to offer more to our clients and just a really better experience. We've branded our corporate work separately, which seems to make a lot of sense to corporate Canada, that we're talking their language, which is not just buried on a wedding website, which makes a lot more sense. So that's been going really well, the Headshot Co. What else?
And then we want to continue building the education platform. So right now we have like 4 businesses running simultaneously. We have the Evans Collective, the Headshot Co., Gary and Kim, which is our education platform, and then we also do a lot of pop-up weddings under the brand Lovely Weddings and Events .ca. So we're literally pushing all of those forward simultaneously. I think the idea is we sat and had a chat last year, is our kind of like 5-year goal is to be able to work and operate anywhere that we want to from a laptop. Yeah. So that's why we're pushing all of these brands forward and moving this one forward a little bit, and then this one a little bit. It's like little pieces on a game board or something that we're just moving things around slightly to get to where we want to.
Well, that has lots of appeal. In January 2026, the most snow we've had in a decade, and the coldest January. Being able to work from a laptop in
Mexico.
Mexico sounds like
for like 2 months would be amazing. Yes. So.
All right. As before we wrap up, I always do the same set of questions. I always say this is about your story, which is fascinating, but it's also about leadership styles and how you kind of perceive things and what drives you. So I asked the same set of questions. It's like our rapid fire, rapid answer session. So, and we'll just go back and forth. What would you tell your younger self if you could go back in time and tell you something? Start with you.
I would tell myself to get on a plane to Canada a lot earlier and come over and find this cute little redhead, so then we can actually spend even more time together.
That's a
Well,
good
that's a
answer.
solid answer.
Yeah, solid.
I don't know that I can outdo that.
Kim would tell her younger self to not talk to this British boy.
Yeah, don't talk to the women. Yeah.
I think I would tell myself if we were talking about business that to say no more often and probably listen to your gut.
No,
I think
it's good advice. Who or what inspires you?
I really like looking outside of our industry as far as kind of like what other people are doing to market their business or how they structure their business or how they reach clients. And I'm kind of just so interested in how people are talking to their clients. So that I always look outside of our industry. So I look at fashion and brands and like big brands and how they're working. And I just find that really interesting. So
Yeah, I'm the opposite. I look at within the industry. So I have on my Instagram like thousands of photographers that I kind of follow, and you'll be on it and you'll be scrolling through, and then all of a sudden there'll be an image that stops me in my tracks, and then I'll look at it and I go, how did that person do that one? And then I'll look at all of their work, and then if I want to know how they did something, I'm cheeky enough, I'll just reach out and say, hey man, love your photo, just talk me through how you did it. And 9 times out of 10 the photographer will be like, oh my God, thanks so much for saying, oh yeah, it was like this. And they'll be really giving in the information that they give you back.
Well, creative entrepreneurs do like to talk about themselves.
Yeah. Well, they do.
They just feel really excited.
It's true. They do love to be told that you love an image, and they're like, "Oh my God, thanks so much!" And then they'll like blurt it all out.
I can't imagine that anybody's favorite topic isn't themselves.
Indeed,
It is. Yeah. If you weren't in your, so where am I at here? I'm back to you. If you weren't in your current career, what would you be doing, or what would be something if photography wasn't in the cards for you?
Yeah, I prior to doing photography full time, I was working for a bank in the UK. I was managing a team of financial advisors across a big geographical area in the UK, and my role was to go out and spend time with them, make sure they're doing and saying all the right things. So I'd probably be doing that. I mean, when I was a kid, I wanted to be a cowboy, but I'm afraid of horses. So that would be out.
That's limiting. What about you?
I am generally a little bossy, so I'm sure that I would have worked my way up somewhere, but maybe like marketing or advertising, probably something like that. I did move to Waterloo Region originally to make costumes for Stratford Festival.
Oh, wow.
So that's kind of how I landed here.
I think you'd be like a TV presenter. You've been on TV a lot.
presenter.
You'd be a TV personality.
Oh, that's good.
Maybe a host. Maybe I'm not.
Some
coming
of us
after. Maybe I'm coming after your gig
Well,
here.
you can, because some of us have a face for radio and others have a
Face for
TV.
TV. Yeah, totally.
TV, so,
Yeah, totally.
Are you reading? Who am I at? Over here.
Okay.
Are you reading a book? Do you listen to a podcast? What do you do to either kind of move yourself forward professionally or kind of relax and decompress?
Decompress, I would say. I listen to Dateline podcasts all the time.
Yes.
And
So if I disappear, you know what's happened.
but what I really like about it is it's a story, and there's a beginning and there's a resolution, and you have to kind of like put the puzzle pieces together, and I like kind of trying to work it out, and then I like that there's a resolution and I can sleep at night. So if it was Unsolved Mysteries, 100% no, because I feel like let down at the end where
What
I'm
happens?
like,
Tell
what?
me
I
the
need
last
to know it,
chapter.
despite the name of the title.
Me, I love music and movies. So often while I'm working and I'm editing, I'll have on my laptop like a movie playing, but it's normally a movie that I've seen before, so I don't get distracted from it.
Yeah.
It's just, I've literally just gone through all the James Bond movies from Dr. No right up to the last Daniel Craig one. Or it's just I'll put music on, and that just puts me in a zone to focus and concentrate on the work that I've got to do in front of me.
Okay, favorite business, coffee shop, restaurant, retail. What's your go-to in Waterloo Region?
Well, we'd just be the Starbucks before we came.
Yeah.
We love sushi, don't we? So
we love
we'll do
sushi,
that.
but I think probably our favorite one of our favorite companies has got to be like Pearl
Yeah.
Pearl
Oh, yeah,
Weddings.
you do a lot of work with
we
them.
do.
We do. We're there a lot
Why,
at their
why,
venues.
why them? What's special about them?
I think the level of service they provide their clients is the same amount of care that we provide to our couples. So we feel like it's kind of really just so aligned with how they treat their clients.
Yeah, they work really hard to give their clients a really good experience.
Yeah.
And that's important to us in our
Yeah.
business too. So, working with that, and it's not just their clients they give a great experience to, their vendors they give a great experience to
Yeah.
as well. They look after you, they treat you well.
The food is amazing.
Yeah, they do like a vendor night a couple of times a year where all the vendors turn up and we meet each
I
other
think
and have
they
like,
appreciate that the vendors who come on site to help with the weddings are just as important as they
Yeah.
are to pull
Their
off
site and their
a
food.
great day for someone.
Yeah.
And it's the focus is on the client, and that's for us. We're obsessed with client experience, so that's solid.
a pretty important building block to success
Yeah.
in business.
Yeah,
is,
they're really good to
is end
work with.
experience.
Yeah.
Okay, listen. Just as we wrap up, I do thank you for spending some of your valuable time. Where do people go to connect with you? Now you got like 17 businesses, so but where do people go and find you?
So I would say Instagram is probably the easiest for us. That's where most of our kind of people would reach out to us. So if you're looking for ourselves as entrepreneurs
Kim
and
and Gary, or
coaches,
Gary and Kim?
Gary and
Gary and Kim.
Kim.ca is our
education
Instagram.
platform.
At Lovely Weddings Events is our pop-up wedding business. At theevanscollective.ca is our wedding photography, and then at theheadshotco.ca is our headshots and corporate work.
Listen, great story. Fascinated. Thank you for coming in on this cold winter day. Appreciate you telling the story and taking time of what your most valuable commodity is for most businesses, which is time.
No worries.
Appreciate you spending some time with us today.
Thanks for having us.
Thank you.
Thank you for joining us for another episode of Behind the Business, proudly presented by Gore Mutual, insurance that does good. New episodes drop every Thursday, so be sure to tune in next week. You can also visit greaterkwchamber.com to catch up on past episodes anytime. We'll see you next time as we continue to go Behind the Business.